Live on tape, it's the Tuddle and Charlie Show. And now, here's your hosts, Tuddle.
No sign of Tuddle.
And Charlie.
Charlie?
Welcome to the Tuddle and Charlie Show. I'm teaming up with Tuddle, the local radio legend, broadcaster extraordinaire, and now we're going to start a show together, and I'm pretty excited about it, Tuddle.
Thank you for wanting to do this with me. The reason I wanted to do this is that we had such a great conversation last week when we talked, and I got a lot of great feedback from people on my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel, everything, talking about they just loved us talking about the radio industry. I don't know about you, but I can sit and talk shop about radio and geek out about it for hours. I don't know how interesting that is when we get into a lot of detail about the nuts and bolts of the business. But I think people do like that. You know, they like us talking about Neil Rogers and talking about the way the business has changed. So I appreciate you wanting to do this with me. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was excited that you wanted to team up and do something. And yeah, I could talk shop about radio all day. It's one of my favorite pastimes, I guess you could call it. I don't know. I've been listening to talk radio for so goddamn long. I don't even remember what it was like beforehand.
If you're thinking back, I can tell you the show that got me in love with radio. I'm born and raised in Central Florida, and the Ron and Ron show was syndicated over here on 101.1 WJRR, and I absolutely fell in love with that show. Just what they did every single day. I loved just the drama, the soap opera-ish type, controversy they would have on the show on a daily basis. Yes, they'd give you opinions on news stories, but that's what got me in love with radio. And then they broke up, and Ron and Fez, who were two of my favorite characters on the show, ended up getting the morning show on 93.1 The Crow in Daytona Beach. And I was like, hell yeah, I got to try to get an internship, because not that I wanted to work in radio, it was that I just wanted to hang out with them and meet them. And little did I know, after 3 months of interning on the show, I would fall in love with the business.
Yeah, Ron and Fez are one of those quintessential shows that you can go back and still listen to on YouTube or any sort of other means, Daily Motion, and the shows still hold up. It's a great show. It's actually one that I tried to intern for when I lived back east, and it was unfortunately at the time where you had to get college credits. It wasn't before they had the lawsuits at Sirius where they got rid of interns altogether, but it was a couple years before that.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, Ron and Fez taught me everything. They really set me up and gave me the tools that I needed to be able to survive in the business and find my way. Yes, I did learn a lot of things from the different shows like Drew Garabo, The Monsters in the Morning, Bubba the Love Sponge, Mike Calta, all those shows that I've had a chance to work with. I've learned a lot, but Ron and Fez were the ones that gave me the tools. Like, they taught me how to walk. I was like their radio baby, and they taught me how to walk, and then that's all I needed to do. And yes, I did fall in love with the business. The business maybe hasn't loved me as much as I wish it could have, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've worked on some of the biggest radio shows in Central Florida. I've gained a lot of experience. Yes, I would have thought at the age of 40, I would be much further along in my career than what I am right now. I'm not going to let it get me down. Just turning 40 in the new year, I've just come out with a new type of work ethic, and I'm hustling. I'm working on all my social media, my YouTube page. I'm doing as much interviews as I can with different podcasts to get my name out there. So yes, I'm refocused and I'm ready to work, and I'm so happy to be able to do this show with you.
Let's go ahead and take the listeners back a little bit to what brought you here to the new and improved Tuddle 3.0, if you will, for 2020 Tuddle. Take us back to the ending of your relationship with the show, the Bubba the Love Sponge show, to yesterday, what you did yesterday.
So back in September, I've been working with the Bubba the Love Sponge show for 4 years, and a lot of people know this because I've talked about it on the air a lot, is that I've dealt with depression, and I've seen a lot of different doctors because I don't have insurance. So a lot of the doctors were prescribing me this, other doctors were prescribing me that. And I just was on a bad mixture of a lot of psychotropic drugs. I woke up that morning and I just felt like absolute crap. I felt like I didn't even exist. I felt like I didn't even have a soul. I looked into the mirror, didn't even recognize myself. And I freaked out, and I ended up doing a stupid thing and tried to hang myself and commit suicide. And luckily, I was unsuccessful. I went into the radio show that morning, talked about it because I wanted to talk about it. For one, I wanted to hold myself accountable and let people know what I did in case I wanted to try it again, as well as I thought it might be able to help people out that were going through what I was going through that were listening. Bubba ended up having me Baker acted. I was in the mental institution for 7 days. And when I got out, I was let go because me and Bubba got into an argument on the radio show that day. And I guess he thought I was becoming a liability, and I was let go. So that's what ended up leading to my termination. And I've been working on just doing a whole bunch of stuff, getting myself right since September. I'm still not drinking. I'm off all the psychotropic drugs, and I've never felt as good as I do right now personally than what I have in my life. I just need to work on the professional side, which I'm doing right now. I just picked up doing 2 nights a week on a syndicated show, and I'm about to pick up a local full-time gig either here in Daytona Beach or Orlando. So things are looking up for me right now.
Can I just say, as a person that listened to the Bubba Love Sponge show and your time on there, you sound a lot better. I'm glad that mentally you're doing well. I think it's going to help you tremendously when you transition to these other radio gigs like you've been talking about. And even if that wasn't the best way for everything to go down, I'm glad that it made you reevaluate your sort of mental health and just take a look at Tuddle as a whole and go, hey, I got to make some changes here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've done, I've been working on myself personally to get that stuff right. And now I'm working on all my brand, my social media, my YouTube page, just doing as many interviews and talking to as many different radio shows as I can. And that's what I've been doing. I'm refocusing.
What kind of show are you going to be hosting down the line? Is it going to be more of a talk show? Is it going to be hosting music? What exactly do you have planned?
I've only worked at a music station one time, spinning records, and that was overnight, and it just wasn't for me. I've always done nothing but talk radio.
Just straight talk. Yeah, well, the music side of the business is one that you don't want to get into. It's a slippery slope. If you're in the talk side of it, that's the best thing you can do is just stay with it, because everybody that I know that's in the music side of the business, they're pushing them out. They basically jukeboxing the radio, and whatever they have them do is just voice tracking or recording shows, whereas the talk side of the radio is still live programming and content.
Yeah, no, iHeartRadio, and all these other big radio stations think that they're going to be able to use artificial intelligence to spin records, which it might be able to work, but they'll never be able to get a computer to be able to host a talk show and give you opinions and give you that passion that talk radio displays on a daily basis. So I don't think talk radio is ever going to go away. Terrestrially, it might go away, because there's so many different platforms of podcasts. I mean, for example, look at how, great Joe Rogan, he's killing it right now. In my opinion, he might be the number 2 radio audio podcaster or radio host or whatever you want to call it in that genre or that format behind Howard Stern. I think Joe Rogan might be the second biggest guy right now in the country.
I actually think he might be number 1 just because his podcast is free and available. I bet if Howard was on a platform like that where more people could get his show for free, Howard would be number 1 still. But Joe Rogan, for a guy who just started doing a show every once in a while because he was a fan of the Opie and Anthony show, look at how much that show is now. Yeah. People, that influences people on voting and all this other stuff that you're seeing now in the news.
Yeah, and it's great, locally here on a different level. My buddies that I worked at Real Radio 104.1 in Orlando with the Monsters, Tom and Dan, they started a podcast. They walked away from a very, great radio deal in terrestrial radio to start their own podcast. And they did so well. They've got a lot of subscribers. They do 3 shows a day. They do a subscription show, a free show. And they did so well that the station that they left to do their podcast hired them back to do nights at their radio station. So It's possible with podcasts. You just have to work and hustle and build a core audience. And by word of mouth, your brand will grow. It's possible to be able to do anything now.
Yeah, social media is key in a lot of these things, and it's something that I've butted heads with for a long time. I've never really cared for it that much. I use it mostly for news and stuff like that to interact with people a little bit, but I've always found it to be, I don't know, if I had anything that important, I would lay it down in a podcast rather than laying it out there. But the immediacy of social media is key. It helps everybody. It lets them know what's going on.
Yeah, if you're one of these old time radio guys that is going to be hard headed and not utilize social media to help you out, you're going to become extinct, because it's the way that the world is right now. You have to do it. You got to be able to engage. I know for a fact that program directors and stuff, managers are looking at your social media engagement. They look at that type of stuff now to decide on who they're going to hire, because then this all goes back to, 10, 15 years ago, radio websites started becoming important. Before then, radio stations really didn't put a lot of value in websites. Now, I would say probably close to half of their yearly budget is based on what they can make off the internet sales now when it comes to radio stations.
Yeah, the whole digital side of something is something, like you said, they neglected for such a long period of time, which was odd because they had to have seen it. They were all using the technology at the time, but they didn't put any money into it until later on. It's sort of like what they've done now with the smart speakers and stuff. A lot of these companies were late to the game on this stuff. They're just now pushing smart speakers when they should have done it 4 or 5 years ago when they were coming out.
Yeah, in the days of you seeing big syndication deals when it comes to people on regular radio, FM, AM, or whatever it is, those days of big syndication deals are completely gone, because the means of distribution have completely changed. So why would, another radio station want to hire and buy your show and carry your show when people can listen to it on the internet now? Their smartphones. There's like close to 20 different scenarios on how you can listen to a radio show. So those days of big syndication deals are completely over with now. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't know. It makes me happy in some regards, because people shouldn't be getting such ridiculous amount of deals for that work when it could be spread out amongst the crew more. But it's saddening too, because that there's no big deals anymore. These people are getting paid basically nothing. So the people behind the scenes are getting paid even less than that. And those are the ones that really get hurt by it. Those are the guys that are in there for the 12-hour shifts when the host jock isn't there or anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the thing is now, though, you got to look at it on the other side, though, with the new means of distribution with podcasts and stuff, is that the creative control is put back into the hands of the people, the hosts, the co-hosts, the producers. And now the opportunity to get a bigger piece of the pie is now there, because most of the times when it comes to these deals, they make a contract and, they pay you for your voice and to be able to create content. And any of the advertisement, the station or the company got most of that. So now with this new way of doing business, the content provider is able to get a bigger piece of the pie and more money.
Yeah, so in the long run, it's actually not a bad thing, because like you said, they can get more content, or they can get freedom with their content, and they can get a little bit more of the monetized value out of it.
Yeah, like for example, I talked briefly. I started on doing 2 nights a week on this syndicated show, which airs overnights. So we record the show because it's on overnight. You're not going to get a lot of interaction over the phone. So we decided to record it. And it's on a couple. I'll have to find out the stations, because I've only done a week's worth. But it's based out of Canada, and it's on 5 stations in the United States. So we record it. We do 5 night or a week's worth of show in 2 nights. So like last night we recorded 3 shows, and then on Thursday night we record 2 shows. So, instead of recording a new show every night, we just decided to knock out all 5 shows on 2 nights. So we got more nights off. But with this show, me coming on and being a co-host, it gives me more freedom, because I'm allowed to find my own endorsement deals and advertisement and be able to make a little bit more money than what I'm used to. Does that make sense? Because that's how I worked out my deal with this new place.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And you also, like we've talked off the air a little bit, you want to have that creative control where you can do a show whenever you feel like doing it.
Yeah, and if you do want to check out the new show that I'm on, it is the Jack Klassen Show, Jack Klassen, Klassen. If you Google him, a lot of his stuff comes up, but I'm going to tell you how you can find his stuff. If you find him on Twitter, the show's account is at the Jack Klassen. Like I said, last name Klassen, Klassen. And if you go to Podomatic, Podomatic, Matic.com and search the Jack Klassen Show, all the shows that we've done have been up there, and you'll be able to listen to the first show that I did. I didn't mean to go on a big plug fest there, but I wanted to get that out of the way while I remembered it.
No, I was just going to ask you that to give everybody the information so they can find that show and check out. Make sure you go and subscribe and follow them on Twitter. Give them a nice little follow there. And if you haven't followed Tuddle yet, if you're just finding this channel and stuff, just finding Tuddle's content, make sure you go follow Tuddle on Twitter. He's great on social media at Tuddle, Tuddle.
Pretty much Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's all, I got in, luckily, I saw all these social media platforms and I got in on them early and was able to get my name, Tuddle, Tuddle. So Instagram.com/Tuddle, Twitter.com/Tuddle, Facebook.com/Tuddle, and YouTube.com/Tuddle. YouTube is something that I'm working on. I'm growing on a daily basis when it comes to delivering content. I will admit, I don't have a lot of great equipment right now. I'm basically shooting and editing everything on my phone. So I hope that the content level, once I start getting some money and start working a little bit more, I'm going to invest it back in better equipment so the quality of my YouTube videos will be much better. But please go to youtube.com/Tuddle and subscribe.
That sounds great, Tuddle. Well, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. We covered a lot of radio stuff, and if we cover it all in this episode, then we won't have anything to go to the well to.
Exactly, man. I really, really appreciate you wanting to do this with me. I think it's only going to get better the more we do it, man. So I really appreciate it, man, and I'm really lucky to have met you and made contact with you.
Thanks a lot for wanting to do this, Tuddle, and until next time, we'll be talking, but will you be listening?
This has been the Tuddle and Charlie Show. Follow Tuddle on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Tuddle, Tuddle. You can email him anytime, Tuddle@gmail.com. Keep up with everything CCA Productions by following Facebook.com/CCA Productions Presents. Also on Twitter at CCA Production. Thank you for listening to the Tuddle and Charlie Show, a CCA production.